Good afternoon. It is Barbara, the East Coast Dragon Lady, coming to you on a Friday afternoon. Um, I'm actually got a planned weekend, and I think I've mentioned before that I'm going to be out in Western Mass on Sunday at the East Hampton City Space, um, and for the Equinox Psychic Fair. So I'll be there doing readings, and I have a few of my oracle decks left. Um, and when they're gone, they're gone. I got a very clear message the other day, which was not to reorder anymore because I've sort of run the cycle. So I think I've got like 8 oracle decks left. So if you're interested, get in touch with me soon, because when they're gone, they're gone. I still use them. I still do readings with them. They've really been a guide for me. If you have my oracle deck, or you've heard me talk about that story, it's interesting. They wanted me to get their word out. So it was the guardians that were coming, the elders, to bring all this beautiful messages and energy, and they took me on a journey, so that I could experience what the messages were. So they came sort of from my heart. um, so I've just come back from my walk, and I had so many things that they were like, oh, and talk about that and talk about that, and I've just sat down and I'm like, what was I going to talk about? So I guess it was really to come on and say that I will not be on my private Facebook page after, probably after tomorrow. I may have time tomorrow, but I'm actually spending the night out in Western Mass, and actually excited to be meeting Dina. So we've, as you know, we've done some things together. We've known each other for a few years now. We've never met in person. So she's coming out for the expo, and so am I. And we're staying overnight at the mansion, which I love, which is in Hollyoake. So I'm sure I'll have some information coming from there. That was the big old mansion that I stayed in the spring. That clearly has got a lot to teach us. So I'm excited also about that. I did also want to mention, I wrote, and I know that if you've been following me for a few years, nearly all of my things have been dragon orientated, galactic, and that still is my focus. And again, if you follow any of my YouTube, or any of the messages that I give, everything that I do is dragon driven. Oh, got a low flying helicopter. Um, Literally, the dragons show me behind me, and they are literally, they've got their hands on me, and that we're pushing you forward in this. And I don't know whether it's because of what's been going on in the world, and this week that I focused all of the messages were global messages, which is what I kept getting for the universe, was to bring back that, to bring it. So what I've been hearing is to bring us back to center. We need to come back to center. There's been some crazy stuff going on. I'm not even going down that path. I don't read it. I can't even get my head around it. But it definitely has influenced some of the things that have come up for me this week in particular. I think I've also shared with certainly some of you, if not all of you, that over the past few years, I always said the veil was thinning for me, the veil between here and the other side, or here and the galactics or whatever, but there's always a veil. And at equinox, the veil's thinner. And then for me, the veil disappeared when I was able to go back. I think it was when I started to be able to spontaneously go back into past lives, which was like 1 minute I was sitting at the dining room table, the next minute I was on a battlefield, and I was like, whoa. It was really to show me that the veil was not there anymore. So what that's done for me has been able to help some people with what they're struggling with, because I can see It feels like there's something here, but I can see the other side of it. Um, so if that's something you're interested in, I've actually, a few people have reached out to me, and it was really realigning and clarity. But the big thing that came up for me again as well was, and again, I really don't know much about this topic, and there's a lot more of you that probably know a whole lot more about ego. But again, I think this is because globally we're seeing so many people with inflated egos, um, that it sort of came on my radar for no particular reason other than I was very aware of, and I was asking myself, sort of, what is ego? And then on one of my daily walks, I got a huge, I guess it was a download. It's on my Facebook page. Um, and it isn't something that I normally post. I think that's why I wanted to talk about it. And I did sit with it for about 24 hours because it was part me and part channeled. Um, and I think it's like important that when we get that information, so what I've been hearing more and more is, even if it isn't for me, if I'm getting that information, I need to share it. And it really was as a caution that I've just reread it. And at the end, I said, um, this message from this is a channeled message and is one of caution. Be aware of your ego and do not allow others to manipulate yours. So oftentimes it's a bit like, you can call it many things, whether there's people that are energy vampires and they see our bright lights coming and those tentacles come out. There's a lot of people with these very inflated sense of themselves, I guess you would say, that really can't see that what they're doing is wrong. So it really is to be cautious, because we can get, I see it like we're being like called in. It's almost like, oh, come and see what I have. And then they sort of, snap you up. So that was, and, whatever I post is genuinely from my heart. But I really needed to get it out. I think that's probably what I'm saying. So there's that part. The other part, oh, I know what it was I wanted to talk about. So somebody who I've actually done some work with, who lives in the Netherlands, Anne, she approached me about something she was developing, which was with trauma, inner beings. And, I've shared that I'm still, I won't say struggling, but I'm still working on my inner child stuff. And there's only so much I feel I can do at any one time, and then I have to wait till I feel I can do it. So she approached me about something she's developing, and that's how there's just this video up on YouTube about inner beings. So what was interesting for me, of course, at the first couple of times, I did pick up on some inner beings that were causing some of my intestinal issues and digestive issues. But yesterday, I think it was, I was out, yes, it was yesterday, I was out for a walk, and I was like, oh, maybe I'll just check in on, is there any inner beings that sort of want to talk to me while I'm walking? And immediately I got this group of dragons like pop up. It was almost like, they were almost like asleep, and suddenly all their heads popped up and they said, inner beings? That's us. We're your inner beings. What are you talking about? And they got really upset with me because I was talking about there could be other beings. And they then went on to explain to me and remind me, which is a story I've shared before, but I actually met all of my dragons when I went on a meditative journey to Agartha, which is inner earth. And when I arrived there, first of all, 2 red dragons took me to a portal and dropped me in. And then when I came out to this beautiful inner earth, my dragons were in the distance, and I heard it was a rumbling. And in my head, I'm like, that sounds like a rumble or a thunder of dragons. And they came really, really fast at me, all these beautiful colors, but prominently about 5 or 6 right in my face. And I've shared how they wanted me to look in their eyes, they opened my heart. So how they explained my inner beings or my inner dragons, and they're saying it could be different beings in everybody, but for me in particular, these are inner dragons, and they're a mirror image of of my dragons that are in inner earth. So my group of dragons lives in inner earth, and they also have a galactic portal. So when I went on this trip with them, there was a huge portal there off to the left that they used to go out into the galaxies, hence how I got the other title of Galactic Dragon Ambassador, because I did a lot of going on journeys with them, meeting other dragons off planet and hearing all about that. That's up for another day. But that was so they reminded me that my inner dragons were just a mirror image of my outer dragons. If that might make sense to you, but that's what they shared with me. But it was fun, and I do have funny dragons. I think all dragons have got a sense of humour, but I literally saw them like they were asleep. They were sort of, everything seems to be in my solar plexus these days, but sort of around that area, and they were all flat, and then they all popped up, like you're talking about us. So something to think about, whether you have inner dragons, do you have inner beings? You could have inner angels, in anything. I just thought that was interesting. And as I say, everything I know about dragons, the dragons have taught me. And I think I was just seeing if there was anything on here that I wanted to talk about. So yeah, I'm actually going to, for the first time in quite a few years, I'm actually going away on vacation. And the trip that I'm really looking forward to, so I'm going north, I'm going to the White Mountains. I've always wanted to go to the top of Mount Washington, and there's a cog railway that takes you up. So we have that booked. I have all my hotels booked. We're going away for like 4 nights, so like 5 days. But I'm really looking forward to going to the top of Mount Washington. And as you know, I often see dragons or see other things in the clouds. So my son was wondering what I might see. Who knows what the weather's going to do. It's really hard to see the 10-day or look into next week because this is New England. So they could say it's going to be cold and raining, and it could change. So I'll take whatever comes, but we're definitely doing that adventure. And then I'm just going to take the next few days as they come. We're going across to Maine, and then dropping down to a tiny little town by the beach for Friday, and then we'll be home on Saturday. So I'm looking forward to just like getting away. It's always hard, like coming up to getting things organised. Thankfully, I don't have to organise animals this time, as I don't have a dog anymore, and my other son will be home with the cat. So we're all set. So I think that was all I wanted to come on and say. Oh, I have had my inner dragon also has been stirring. That's Edward, and he's been saying that he's gathering information. Was what he said. This is what he's saying to me. I'm gathering information so that I can come through with some interesting facts and messages. He thinks I will gather more when I go out to Western Mass, and because that's where I birthed him, he's saying, because that's where I first encountered my inner dragon. So it will be an interesting trip. It'll be interesting. If stuff comes up and I have time, I might just pop on. All depends on, but I'm really going to have a shut off few days and just enjoy my time off. So I hope you all have a good weekend. I probably pull some cards tomorrow. Hope you have a good weekend. Hope you have a good week, and I'll be back soon.